And on Belfast 89, we go live to Restoration Island. We're talking to David Glasheen on, what's a tropical island in the middle of nowhere? Is it truly the luckiest bloke in the world I'm speaking to?
Well, I think I am. It's all around, of course, but yeah, my life is pretty amazing, and I think I'm one of the luckiest, not the only there's probably other lucky people, but I'm one of them.
And you've been there for 25 years on this tropical island. It was the stock market crash in 87 led to it. Do you have any regrets? Will you live the rest of your life there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I've got no regrets. I'm glad it all happened as it did. It was one of those things that happens in your life. You don't really understand what's ahead of you, but look, it's all worked out in retrospect really good. You know, I've lost a lot of dough, but you know, you can recover. You know, money's important, but it's not as important as your life. You know, there's more important things than money.
Everybody always says that. Now, you've had a lot of visitors over the years, most recently the guys from that Bounty documentary recreating the plight of Captain Bligh and the people that were on the mutiny on the Bounty, so to speak. You're maybe not as lonely as people think then if there's a passing yachtsman every weekend.
Well, no, they're not every week, but you know, people come and go. We're in the middle of nowhere, but people on boats and yachts and like the Bounty people, for example, in their case, of course, they were recreating what Captain Bligh did, so they landed here for that reason. But yeah, people come. It's not like a city. You know, there's not thousands of people here. You know, people come. I don't know when they're coming. People just come out of the sky by helicopter, or they come on a yacht or a boat, or the people come here. People see people, or people from the air. You know, helicopters, that sort of thing. So
they're more or less uninvited guests. You've no idea whatsoever when they're going to turn up, David, at all.
No. Well, you know, I guess I've got a phone here and people can search me and all that sort of stuff. But no, generally people just arrive. You know, particularly yacht people, the international people. You know, they know about Captain Bligh, and it's still the most famous voyage in the Pacific over the last couple of 100 years. So international people know all about Bligh, and as a consequence, Restoration Island. So, but they're not very many people. It's all a bit quiet in the last half a dozen years or so. You know, the world isn't travelling. They don't seem to be doing as much adventure anymore. I think people are scared. I don't know what's happening, but
You're probably right. A lot of yachtsmen tend to not get out of the Mediterranean or the Caribbean now because of the situation with pirates in places in the world. They might be put off going and visiting you. I've never thought of that, but you're probably right about that.
Yeah, I think it's security. I think ever since September 11 in the United States, there's been a tremendous drop. Like I said, you know, it happened immediately almost, and yeah, people still come, but nowhere near the numbers, you know. And you know, people, international people would come here. I'd get 4 or 5 a year at least, but they're down to maybe 1 a year, you know, which is not a lot. You know,
right,
really.
That's a big drop. Do you think you're going to have maybe thousands of people turning up, David, with people getting worried about World War III and all now?
Yes. Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of people who are leaving. Well, I know I'll hear from people who leave, and even the people that used to come before. You know, particularly out of the US, you know, people actually made a decision to leave and not come back for 10 years.
Right.
They bring their families, and they were sailing around the world, for example, a couple of American families and European people. They just decided things were getting tough in their world, so they picked up their kids, sold everything, and decided to sail, educate their kids on a boat, which you can do, you know, with internet and computers and things. You don't need to be in a city to teach your kids. No, you don't. You don't.
Yeah. And quite a lot of those people grow up to be extremely well-rounded and extremely well-versed in the world and its ways. If you could do it all, if you could do it all over again, David, would you just keep the money and live in Dubai instead?
No way, no. I love it. Look, Australia's a great part of the world. It's at the end of the world, as people say, you know, down under, you know, and But look, it's a great place here, and I've travelled a bit, and mainly as a businessman, but not as a tourist as such. But I've done a bit of tourist travel. But I love Australia, and look, this is God's country. If you believe in God, this is God's country. And it's pure. It's pristine. It's not destroyed by man. And in the future, I don't think it will be. If we're smart enough and careful enough, we'll preserve it. In posterity for the world's people. It's a part of the world. We've got to look after the planet basically, and this is a part that's not destroyed.
What do you think of those TV shows that Bear Grylls does, and he puts people on a tropical island, and then society falls apart just like the book? Do you think they're contrived, or do you think if there was a group of people on your island, you would be able to get on with them?
Oh, I think so. Look, I think it brings out the best and the worst in people. Like when you're in a place where you're relying on each other, and people aren't used to that. It's not easy. It's like working with people. Human skills are the most important skill I think everyone can have. Degrees and universities and all that stuff is fine, but the most important skill to have, whether you're in the city or on a remote island, is the ability to work with other people and tolerate and listen and compromise and all those sort of things, So, as I said, it brings out the best and the worst. If you're not prepared to do that, you've got a really ugly situation and a difficult situation because you can't easily resolve it,
No.
And being isolated in a lot of ways is good, I look at what's going on in the world today. I look at North Korea, for example, and the country's isolated, and no one knows really what to do. And so I think a lot about that sort of thing, and think, well, we can do a lot of things, but you've really got to be careful because nuclear weapons are involved.
Could be.
So I think about stuff. Yeah, I think about stuff, and I used to come from a city, and I know it goes on in cities, and they're not as safe as they used to be.
No. Has modern...
And it's a real worry.
Yes, you've got the time to think about all this. Has modern society and modern inventions made your life easier on the island? Because I would imagine you have the likes of solar power and the internet and desalination plants and all that now. So really, your survival skills really aren't tested that much then on Restoration Island, are they?
Well, no, I don't have desalination plants. I rely on the rain.
Right.
And if it doesn't come, I'm buggered. And I get one rainfall event a year if I'm lucky. And if I don't get that, I've got no. I can get roof water, but I'm talking about real water,
Mm-hmm.
And little tanks on the roof. Water. People consume a lot of water, even me. And I've got poly-haired dog. All creatures use water. And water is really scarce to really be careful. So I don't have desalination. I rely on solar power.
Right.
I don't rely on petrol or diesel. So if there's no sun, I've got no power.
Right, I'm with you.
And the batteries don't work. Well, I've got no power either. So I'm sort of I've got creature comforts, but they don't always work.
So how come you haven't gone stir crazy like Tom Hanks in that movie Castaway then? You seem pretty switched on to me, having talked to you now in person.
Well, I'm trying to do something here. I came here for what I came here. The reason I came here is different to what I'm now doing. I came here because I needed to get away from the madness of the city life. Lost a lot of money, family fell apart. I didn't have the skills, I didn't plan to be here like I'm still. It wasn't my plan to be here as long as I am. But now I'm here, I've realised what I now want to do, and I want to build a healing retreat.
Yes.
And I want to basically a non-for-profit healing retreat. I'm sick of money. Money is just, people fight over it. I'm sick of it. It's like dogs fighting over a bone, the only bone. Well, we've got to learn to share the world. The people don't want to share the world, and there's a lot of one-sided sort of views about there. So I've learned a lot about what I think is important in life. And
I
think I want to help. Sorry.
You know, some European countries are coming around to that way of thinking. If you remember Star Trek, there was no money in Star Trek, and it was everybody got a living wage. And some European countries are trying to introduce that rather than the Dole or the DHSS. They're going to give everybody a minimum amount of money that enables you for the basics in life. Do you think the future is that for the planet then? Because the price of gold goes up and down, the price of houses go up and down. Everybody seems to have these very weird views about materialistic possessions.
Well, this is the problem, and you know, people don't know when's enough. You know, it becomes an obsession in itself, and you know, I think that's a very creative idea. I think it was Scandinavia, or so it was Denmark, or somewhere in Scandinavia, I think, was talking about the idea of basically people get paid money to at least let them survive at a level that it doesn't mean that they're beggars, you know?
Yes.
The world can afford this today. But the world can afford everybody to have a basic life. But we don't need brand new Nikes, or we don't need the latest model Mercedes. We don't need all this damn stuff that people think they need to be successful. And I used to be a marketing guy. You know, I was pretty good at it. People kept paying me, you know, and I must have done something right. You know, I didn't have many jobs, but I took risks in what I was doing. But you know, you can sell ice to Eskimos, really. If you can sell Coca-Cola, you can sell ice to Eskimos. You know.
Well,
you know, it's all about marketing and perception. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well,
I think I was just.
I think there's
a lot more to life than this, you know. It's a great planet we live on, and it could be so much greater. And we've just got to solve simple problems like helping the people who are in trouble. And the smart countries can do it. We can do it now. We're doing it now. It's happening already. But not quick enough. It's got to happen faster.
I think you might have a point, although they say that more of the money is in hands of fewer people nowadays, and the middle class is being squeezed even more. It'd be nice in an ideal situation if we could all retire to a tropical island, but you know, up here in Ireland, it's pretty cold in the winter time, and food's pretty scarce as well. I imagine some of our listeners think you're actually a barman in a Dublin bar, and you're going to go back to a nice cold Guinness after this phone call. What are you going to do immediately after this phone call?
Well, I've been to one once in 1980. And I went there because I was looking for a specialist wood turner. Mm-hmm. In fact, I met with the Michel Pipe of Ireland, the famous wood pipe, and it's a wood turning company. Mm-hmm. And my brother invented these toys, which was specialist wood turning. And there's not many in the world. You know, there's one in Australia. There's sort of one in France. There's no one in America. I think Japan can do it. It's really high quality, you know, wood turning, and Ireland had one like Waterford Crystal. You know, Ireland had some very specialist industries, and I went to Ireland for that reason. But I also wanted to get where I came from, which is in County Cork. But there was a petrol strike on, so I couldn't get there. You know?
Right.
And but I loved Ireland, and I thought that's where I come. The people I met there, I figured that's where I come from, because my family are Irish. They come from County Cork, and
yes.
Glasheen is a little village in County Cork. So I want to get back there, and but yeah, it was the best experience of my life. And the Irish, I figured that's where I come from. I met all the Irish people. I thought they're all pretty crazy, and I thought, well, that's where I come from, because I fit in with that. I identify with that, you know. And I had a great time. I was only there for a couple of days, but you know, I loved the idea of Ireland. But I want to come back there, and I want to go to the village that my family came from. It's only a tiny town of 2,000 in Southern Ireland, County Cork, and so yeah. But I was only in Dublin, you know, and my family are all red-headed people. So
right.
I've never seen red-headed people in my life before, and I got to Dublin, you know.
There's still quite a few redheads around Ireland and Scotland as well. Although they're saying they're dying out because of
the Celtic people. Well, I had a medical thing the other day, and an old doctor looked at my hand. It's a thing in my hand. I forget the name of it, but he said, "You're Viking, eh?" And I said, well, I guess I am. I said, my family come from Ireland. My father's side come from Ireland. They're Viking people and Normans. Yes. So they're ancient people, the Irish people. And he said, well, the only people who get what you've got in your hand are Viking people.
Right.
So you have Viking blood in your body. No, I forget what it's called. It's it's like a growth thing that makes your finger gnarl up, But only the Viking people, 99% of the world that get this are Viking, have Viking blood.
Oh, I must look that one up. So, what are you going to do immediately?
I forget what it's called.
Yeah. What are you going to do immediately? What are you going to do immediately after this phone call? Then, what does a day look like for you then?
Oh, we're getting a bit of rain at the minute, which is nice. The wet season's finished, but look, I've actually got an English guy coming here again. Ben Fogel came here some years ago.
Yes, we know him. Yes,
like in England, who did a series of where the wild men are or something. New Lives in the Wild, I think. They want to come back and revisit, So I'm getting ready for them. They're here in about 4 or 5 weeks. So.
Now I'll tell you.
I've never had any Irish people here.
Well, I might be the first one, but I'm hard scared of snakes and creepy crawlies. But I'll tell you something about Ben Fogel. He was in a series called Castaway on Tarnasay Island in Scotland. Now, they remade that series recently and called it Eden. But after a couple of episodes, they stopped transmitting it, but they just left the people on the island. What do you think of that?
Oh, that's a great idea.
No, but it was a flop. It flopped the second time around, so they never transmitted it for whatever reason. But that was.
Oh, okay. No, but I think the idea of these sort of programs are good because, like Survivors and stuff. Like people have to learn about life skills, and people who live in cities today rely on everything to happen. I think it just flick switches and you put petrol in the tank of the car and the car goes. Everything all works. When nothing goes wrong, they're all in total trouble.
They're the people
people don't have life skills.
They're the people I love to hear.
They don't have life skills anymore.
Yeah, they don't.
And I think it's important. Kids, I was a Boy Scout in there when I was young. And I think that's a really good sort of idea. And young boys and young girls should learn life skills about surviving in the bush as early as possible, and so they can grow up in life dependent, not dependent on everybody. Everyone seems to be modern people are like marshmallows to me. They're always dependent on someone else.
Yes,
and I think that's a real tragedy. That's a real problem for society because people don't think they can do anything anymore. They're relying on all these experts everywhere. Well, where are the experts? And
I totally agree with you, David. Listen, we're going to leave it there. Thank you very much for talking to us today. David Glasheen from Restoration Island. I'm sure people will look you up on the internet and find you if they want to get in touch with you and maybe tune in and drop out. Thank you very much, David.
Love to have a Guinness. Looking forward to a real one over there one day.
You get here and look me up. All right? Take it easy. Bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye, Justin. Bye.
It's the Spencer Davis Group and Gimme Some Lovin'. Funny enough, we were talking about Wilson Pickett earlier.